Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and another live stream and another moment to talk about Manchester United with a specific match in mind. This weekend, away from home against Crystal Palace. Today, we've got a lot to talk about. We need to look ahead to this game. We need to figure out how United can finally perform at a high level and hopefully secure 3 points against Crystal Palace. But also, this is the first time that we have had the opportunity to catch up after the match against Everton, a game which did not go very well at all. We watched Everton players slapping each other inside 15 minutes. We saw a red card, and then we saw a terrible Manchester United performance. One which sort of felt like it's been coming, but perhaps we didn't expect it in that way. Perhaps we didn't expect it at home against Everton. Away from home, it's tough. Crystal Palace are a very good side. So there is so much to talk about. So much to talk about. What United can do in this game, what went so horribly wrong in the last game, what do we need to change, what different players can we get in, and of course eventually we will be doing predictions for this match as well. I also have a couple of stats which are interesting with regards to Crystal Palace and what we can expect from this match. But before we do any of that, let's remove ourselves from this match for a second. I want to hear from you guys in the chat and hear how you're feeling. How is life? How are things? How are you feeling about United? How's your week been? Let me know all of that in the chat below, and I will have a read of some of them. Straight away in the chat, we've got David with a gifted membership before we've even really got started. What an absolute legend. David, thank you very much. As always, lovely to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. And also Adele with the 3-month membership, saying, is this the new chair? It is. It's the comfiest chair I've ever sat on in my life. It's so good, and I'm not like up and down all stream, which is quite fun. It's quite fun. AJ looking extra handsome right now. Steve, that must be the COVID getting to you, mate. But thank you very much, and I hope you get better soon, my friend. I can feel myself getting a cold right now, which, you know, is a very me thing to do, but I can feel it slowly approaching. Boom, let's have a look in the chat. What's going on? I don't care too much about this match after the Everton loss. It was a bad one. It was a bad one, and very quickly 5 unbeaten changed to 3 without a win, and that's how quickly the narrative can change in football, you know, and that's why results are so important. And you know, it is a results business at the end of the day, and suddenly 3 games in a row, United haven't got a good result. We've got 2 points from a possible 9 after getting 9 from 9 in the 3 prior. So United go from looking unbeaten to suddenly in a poor spell of form, both in terms of performance across those 3 matches and also the results that we have secured. So there's definitely some problems that we've got to try and solve today. And that's what I want to do today. We're going to go through the starting 11, as we always do. And we've got to try and find some different solutions. We can't sort of end up with the 11 that we always have, because if we do, then we're going to have the same problems that we always face. And this could suddenly be a very, very long game. Now, hopefully, as we go through the stream, we can be a bit more positive. Hopefully. Before the season started, majority predicted 8th. Results like the Everton loss should not be surprising. For me, it's not the result. Losing 1-0 at home against 10 men is bad. It is bad, but it happens. Football's a very weird sport. It's a moments sport, right? Split-second things can throw everything up in the air. You prepare all week for a match, and it's an amazing goal by Dewsbury Hall, and you go 1-0 down. I'm not actually that fussed about the result. I think those results happen over the course of a season. For me, it was the performance. It was on the anniversary of 1 year of Ruben Amorim taking charge of his first game. And we saw so many problems in this match against Everton that we saw against Ipswich last year. And that was the more concerning thing for me. The fact that the result felt like it was coming. The fact that it was quite predictable, the way that we played. If United are going to lose the game, we're going to lose it like how we lost it the other night. We saw so many problems that we've seen before coming to the front again. So that's the concerning thing for me. The results happen. The performance is terrifying. And yeah, the performance in the 2 games before that as well, very poor. The approach, the mindset, I didn't like any of it the other night, to be honest. I really struggled to find a positive. Normally I can find one, but I can't find anything particularly good about what we did the other night. And again, I'm not talking about the result. This team struggles to score goals and keep a clean sheet. And yeah, ultimately, that's a problem. Right, if you're a football team that struggles to find a way through teams and score goals and break teams down, and also you concede a lot, that's sort of an image of you being too easy to play against. And I think that's sort of the criticism that a lot of people are throwing Amorim's way, that United feel easy to play against. And the other night I felt that we were exactly that. For me, it was keeping a 3 back, put Dallo on for Yoro and let him join in from the right channel for flip's sake. Apologies for the extreme language. Steve, you need to chill out. But I agree, and again, I think it's exactly that. It felt like what we saw against Everton was the extreme stubbornness, and that's concerning for me because I always sit here and try and preach the fact that the formation isn't the most important thing, right? I'll always sit here and say, you can win matches in a 3-4-3, a 5-2-3, a 4-4-2, a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, whatever. The formation is not the most important thing. It's the principles and the way that you play. What concerns me, after watching the other night, is I'm not sure that Amorim agrees with that. I'm not sure that he agrees with that because when needing a result, rather than getting an extra attacker on, Dallo for Dorgu was his substitute. Now, I don't know if I'm overreacting to that, but if you need a goal, you don't bring Dallo on to hold your width on the left. Right? If we do go away from formation for a second and just think about an area of a football pitch, Dallo sort of holding down this position whilst we were trying to break a team down was the most illogical thing that I've ever seen and was extreme stubbornness, and that's concerning. Very concerning. I wonder if Amorim will put out an 11 where the out of possession could look like a back four like we suggested. Hopefully, it's something that we always try and talk about if possible. This game might be a bit different. Obviously, you guys will see the Crystal Palace 11 on stream. Palace are a side that we've spoken about before because they also play 3-4-3. And I think what Palace prove is that not all 3-4-3s are the same. They work in very different ways. And also expectations and demands are very different at different football clubs. And that's probably something that we'll discover as we go through this stream. One thing that confused me the most, we were trying to cross the ball so much last game, but before that, when Sesko used to play, we were not doing it frequently. Yeah, I think pretty much everything about the performance the other night didn't make sense. It was all quite illogical, from loads of fullbacks down the left trying to break down a block, to loads of crosses when we didn't have a striker on the pitch, and things like that. A lot of it didn't work. Taking Casemiro off when we need a goal, that's not particularly logical. It just felt confused. Like, pretty much every decision we made, I was sitting there going, I wouldn't have done that. Now, I'm not a Premier League manager. I'm not saying I know best. But a lot of decisions confused me. Of course, yeah, it's important to point out we were without the likes of Cunha and Sesko, who are very good, very important players. It was an 11 quite close to last season's 11. But I still think we have to demand better. We have to. Licher is fit. Yeah, I was trying to find this morning if I could see anything about whether he is now ready. He's got to be close. He's got to be close. I would still think we probably give him one more week before putting him in a starting 11. Unless we now feel forced. Who knows? If we had have won 2-1 in the end, I'd still be as confused, by the way. Yeah, and that's exactly why, like I said, I don't even care that we lost 1-0. Weirdly, perhaps that's where the standards are right now. But like I said, it was like the decisions we made during the match to get to that loss were like mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. There was so many weird things that we were trying to do, like going really narrow when you're playing against 10 men on a big pitch. Like, it just all felt really backwards. Really, really backwards. But hopefully this is an opportunity to right some of those wrongs. As David has just pointed out, Crystal Palace played in Europe last night. They lost 2-1 to Strasbourg in the Conference League. Who knows? Maybe they are tired. They were very strong last night. They had rotation in midfield. Neither Kamada or Wharton started the game. But outside of that, it was a very strong 11 for Palace last night. So they played Thursday night, and then we play 12 o'clock on Sunday. Those games are close. And as has been pointed out in the chat there, we're still so early in the season. Like we said last week, the standards of the league have fallen, in my opinion. We are still only 3 points away from the top four, which is why I find our club so frustrating. I just want to strangle a lot of them, because like, if we were just good, the league is there for the taking. The top four is right there for us this season. It's right there for us. But we are so caught up in just being bad that we're not taking advantage of it. If we were a remotely good side right now, the top four would be looking kind of cozy. But it's not the case. But 3 points this weekend, and we sort of propel ourselves back up the table immediately. Teams around us will drop points, you would expect. I believe Sunderland and Bournemouth play each other, for example. So there is every opportunity for United to climb up the table again this weekend. To do that, though, we have to play in a certain way. And to play in a certain way, we need to pick an 11. First position, Lawman's easy, right? He comes straight into the team. It's as simple as that. The back three, it might be time for a conversation. because we've been very consistent with our back three this season. De Ligt and Shaw, I believe, have started every single Premier League game in the back three this season, I think. And then it's been rotation between Yoro and Maguire. It's been nice to see consistency. I'm a person who likes to see the team building dynamics and things like that, and in chemistry and partnerships and understanding, sure. But we are conceding a lot of goals. We are conceding a lot of goals still. So is it time to look at a slightly different back three? Maybe that's something that you guys can help with in the chat. Before that, Adele with the super chat. Thank you very much. Football can be played in an abundance of ways. 3-4-3, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, etc. Completely agree. It doesn't really matter. Also, we play 4-4-2 sometimes in the game. Formation didn't lose the game against Grimsby or Everton. Grimsby, I agree. Grimsby, I agree. I think in this game, Everton, I think our system was the problem. I do believe that was the case in this game. I agree that Grimsby, I don't think was. I don't even know what happened against Grimsby. I feel, I always say, the manager's job is to give the players the best opportunity to win a football match. With how they're coached, the instructions they're given, the freedom they're given, and the way that we play on the pitch. We didn't do that against Everton. Amorim's structure, our footballing idea, our philosophy, whatever you want to call it, didn't work against Everton. That was the problem more than the players. I also think the players were poor as well. The players were also poor, but I think they were set up to fail by their manager, which is why I was so frustrated by the performance. But maybe this week we can see something different. And also, thank you very much for the super chat as well. Very kind of you. The simple fact was they should have capitalised on having more players on the field. Exactly. You've got to make the most of that. You've got to take the advantage there. Shaw cannot be a starter for too long. Very, very reliable, but play slows us down too much. I watched the game on Sky. I thought Gary Neville's commentary was a bit weird. I like Gary Neville, I do. I think he's a good commentator until he hops on United games. I don't like him so much in those games. I thought his persistence with having a go at Luke Shaw was mind-boggling in terms of the fact that he wasn't pushing forward. Neville kept saying he's a fullback, get forward. He was playing centre-back. He was playing centre-back. For Shaw not to be bombing, that's instruction. You know, the fact that Luke Shaw wasn't earlier in the game pushing really high was an instruction-based thing, because Luke Shaw instinctively goes forward. So he was told not to. That's a manager thing, not a Luke Shaw thing, in my opinion. Adele is on form today, by the way. He's now in the chat with 10 gifted memberships. So 10 of you guys who were not members before are now members, just because this man is an absolute legend and super, super generous. So thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you for the support as always. And guys, make sure to say thank you. Neville was very odd on Shaw. He was clearly doing what he was told. Yeah, like, Luke Shaw has always, from a very young age, like 18 at Southampton, been a player that wants to overlap and get forward and cross. So for him to not be doing that in that game state, he was clearly told not to. Now, whether you think he should or shouldn't be doing it, it didn't feel like his decision. His manager was telling him to hold back, right? That's the manager. So I felt like Neville was going at the wrong guy there, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, what do we think about the back three? What options do we have? Luke Shaw is still an option for the back three. He's a left-footed player. He's quite a progressive player. Amorim likes that. Is Maguire back? Does anyone know? I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything on it this morning. I'm hoping he's back, but maybe, Son, if you're in the chat, you might have the knowledge, the inside scoop. We got De Ligt as an option. We got Lenny Yoro as an option. Outside of that, Lisandro Martinez, maybe back. Maybe back. Mazraoui. And let's also throw Dalot in there as well. Now, the reason I'm going to throw Dalot in there is because when he comes on the other day, right? When Dalot comes on the other day, surely we could have done that for Yoro. No disrespect to Yoro, not to say that Yoro was playing poorly, although he didn't have a great night. Made an error for the goal. But could we not have put Dalot at right centre-back? Like, for example, in that game where we're against 10 men, we're at home, we need a goal, and Everton weren't offering an awful lot at the time. And Yoro was struggling anyway. Could we not gone like Shaw and Dalot as the outside centre-backs, for example, to just play a little bit higher? Because we know in that game state that our centre-back was often ended up like here. This is the position that Yoro ended up in. I just feel that Dalot would have been more dangerous. Like, could he have not come on in that position Or could one of the subs not have been Mazraoui? Did he come off at half time for Mount? Is that when Ahmad then went wing back? I think that's how it worked. Could we not have taken Yoro off and got one of these guys into the back three? Because Everton, it weren't like Everton were getting loads of set pieces. And Yoro was struggling with the long ball threat anyway. Could we not have tried that to be more attacking? And this is something I pointed out in Discord the other night. Like, our idea of absolutely throwing the kitchen sink at Everton still had 4 defenders on the pitch. Like, normally when a team is really throwing everything at it, they've got a maximum of 3 defensive players. But, like, us really being attacking still had 4 defensive-minded players on the pitch, which was weird. Weird, if you ask me. Yeah, like you said, like the 89th minute, Dallo finally went to right centre-back for a few minutes. Like, we could have done that a lot earlier to try and get on the front foot. Surely. Anyway, what back 3 do we fancy for this game? Okay, so reading the news from Sun. Sun is so good. Sun, you're a legend. Will Hughes and Decore are the only ones having injury concerns for Crystal Palace. Mateta should be fine on Sunday. Shesko and Maguire are both still out. Cunha could return. Yeah, I believe I saw that there's a confidence that Cunha can play. So we will certainly include him in our conversations. So if Maguire isn't going to play, that puts us to De Ligt as the middle centre-back. Pretty much. I don't see anyone else playing there. Not under Ruben Amorim, not how he likes to do things at the moment. If it's not Maguire, it's De Ligt. It's sort of like that. What can we do around it? What can we change with the rest of the back 3? Because whilst I've loved the consistency, surely there comes a moment where, yes, it's consistent, the back 3, but it's also consistently like shipping a lot of goals. If we head over to... Where is it? I'm blind. I can't see a thing. There it is. United have conceded 19 goals this season, which is more than twice what Crystal Palace have conceded. Granted, the expected goals against is a little bit closer, but there's sure, consistency in the back line is nice, but it's actually just consistently bad. Like, should we really be trying to build this back 3 when it concedes a lot of goals? Of course, when we concede, it's not just the back 3, it's the midfield, it's the forwards, it's the goalkeeper, everything all in one. But are we sort of like building on a platform which doesn't work? Are we building on a weak foundation? Because something's going wrong there, isn't it? We've seen, several moments where balls are coming into the box and we're not dealing with them, for example, despite a lot of defenders. David said, let's just play the mid-block, let Palace have slightly more possession than they probably want, force them to try and break us down, use the transitions in our favour. No shame in being pragmatic. Yeah, I haven't got average possession on here. I probably should have grabbed that. In terms of like a slight look at how Palace play, we do have... Oh, voice crack. We do have this stat. Of course, we've seen this a lot recently. This concerns me a little bit. Because we know this. So this is when the goalkeeper's got the ball, how they distribute. So for Manchester United, when a goalkeeper's got the ball, 58.4% of their distribution is launched, which FBref views as a pass being over 40 yards. Now, the other day we pointed out the fact that Everton were 3rd for that. They might have even been 2nd at the time, but, they were high for that. We can see that Forest were high for that, and now Crystal Palace as well. And I'm a little bit worried about that, because it sort of has felt to me recently the long ball approach that we saw against Liverpool, we did against Sunderland quite well, very well against Brighton as well. The long ball approach, the direct approach, playing on second balls, seems to work against like the technical teams. The teams that want the ball on the floor struggle when we start going long. The second we face these other quite direct teams, we seem to lose some of the effectiveness. Everton are set up to play a fairly direct style of game, so when we bring it to them, they're sort of ready for it. We saw the same against Forest. We were much less effective because they like to play in that way as well. I'm a little bit concerned about that this weekend against Palace. Palace don't mind playing a direct game, 50-50 launched passes. So I'm a little bit concerned. Like, is there actually a need for us this weekend to get the ball on the floor and play? Can we rely on the pragmatic approach? I don't know. We've conceded almost the same amount we've scored under Amorim. It's mental. Yeah, we've got 12 Premier League wins in 12 months. However you dress it up, whatever you think the trajectory of the project is, it's not acceptable. It's not okay. Like, I'll tell you for free, any other manager in the history of United would have been sacked by now. After the last year we've had is pathetic. Like, genuinely pathetic. But we are where we are. And we've got to try and find a way through this mess. Adele back in the chat with another super chat. Thank you very much. We should seriously consider buying Gonzalo Inacio from Sporting or someone similar. We've been linked with him sort of a lot on and off over the years. Never quite concrete, has it? But we've always been linked. I think Liverpool have often been as well. He can play all three positions at the back, also left wing back and centre mid. I think Schlotterbeck is another one that a lot of people would be excited by. A lot of it, again, is going to depend on where we finish. Do we have Champions League or Europa League or Conference League or no European football? I think that's going to dictate what we can do in terms of the players that we can attract, the players we can keep, but also how big a squad we need as well. So this season, the performances this season and where we finish this season is really going to dictate what we can do next summer. So it's why there is a real pressure to perform immediately. Absolutely. Also, thank you very much again for the super chat. We are 6 points away from overachieving. That's the maddest thing. And that's why I am just convinced that the league isn't as strong. Teams have plateaued. Like Villa they're not like bad all of a sudden, but they're not improving. Like normally what we see is teams slowly going on this upward trajectory. We saw that for Villa for a few years, Brighton, Newcastle. I feel like Brighton has stalled. I feel like Villa has stalled. Newcastle have plateaued, if not got a little bit worse. Liverpool have got worse. Spurs are sort of as good as what they were, which was pretty terrible last year. There is such a moment there. Such an opportunity for us to do good. There is such an opportunity there. But also at the same time, as someone has just pointed out, if things go wrong this weekend, we could be down as low as what? 13th or 14th, which is a bad look. Our squad depth this year is crazy. 2 injuries, and we were basically ruined last weekend. Yeah, I mean, some of that's because we've built ourselves a smaller squad. I think we've done it on purpose, knowing that we have less games. Look at Xerxes and Cobby, for example. Can you imagine we had even more forwards? Like, how would we be keeping all of them happy? So some of that is done intentionally. We've managed injuries quite well so far this season, I think. But there is clearly still a problem with the squad. I will maintain, though, I will stand forever by the opinion that last season our squad was better than 15th best in the league. Come on, let's be serious. And this year it's better than the 10th best squad. It's not in the top 3, that's very obvious, but it's not as low as 10th either. It's capable of a far better football than what we play right now. I think the current squad is better than what we had under Ten Hag. And whilst, I'm not going to go back and say Ten Hag was amazing because he wasn't, but the football was better, at least. We looked like a team which, sort of like, if it clicked, we could see where it would go. Whereas under Amorim, I feel like even if it clicks, it still feels capped, which is a little bit concerning. Our start was decent until Everton. I think our start was very poor. Then we sort of like recovered it in that Brighton, Sunderland, Liverpool spell. And now we've sort of dipped again. Someone did also say, Liverpool's worst start in a decade is considered our decent start by many. Yeah, we sit and laugh at Liverpool every week and talk about them in a crisis and being absolutely horrendous. They've lost 6 out of the last 7, or is it 7 out of the last 8? And they're on the same points as us. Standards at football clubs. Standards at football clubs is crazy. Creed, good morning to you. Hope you're well. I'm convinced we are improved. We are better than last season. I'll give you that. We are. But it's not difficult to be better than 15th. Come on. If we hadn't been improved, they should all be shot. We had to improve on 15th. There's improving, being better than last season isn't an achievement. It's like the bare minimum of existence for this football club. It's not an achievement to be better than what we were last year, because last year we were maybe the worst United side certainly in my lifetime. So it's not an achievement to be better than that, in my opinion. It's a step in the right direction, which is something that we should be happy about. But like, we should be way better than last season, not just a little bit. Because let's remember, right, Manchester United were 15th last season. 15th. 15th. It was 15th, right? It was 15th. Come on. Come on. Or we just have better players in attacking positions. Yeah, that's part of what I mean by us being better. Also, the more direct approach recently has reduced the errors, which has made us a better team as well. Anyway, we haven't solved this back three. Where is it? I got a little bit sidetracked moaning about the manager, because he annoys me. De Ligt in the middle. De Ligt in the middle. Who do you put either side of him? I just don't know. For me, it feels a little bit early still for Lisandro Martinez. I love him as a footballer. I think he's so good. I think he's so important for United, what he can do on the ball. It would be such a disappointment to rush him back for us, but also for him. So I'm still of the opinion that we should be managing Lisandro Martinez. You know, there's not a need to rush him back. It's not exactly like we're fighting for a title here. Let's protect him. Let's be sensible about him. Let's not rush him. Let's ease him in with the minutes. So I'm going to take Lisandro Martinez out of the conversation for starters for another week. We'll see next week. We'll sort of address it again. The question is what we do in front of that. What we got in the chat, we got a Euro, De Ligt, Shaw back three, which is, of course, sort of our regular one. We got Shaw, De Ligt, Mazraoui from Steve. I quite like that. Mazraoui, De Ligt, Euro. What, Silver Surfer, what way round is that back three? Who's on the right out of those defenders? No matter the lineup, we will lose because it's 3-4-3. Okay, I'm not sure about that logic when Palace also play a 3-4-3. By the way, apologies for the doggo barking. He's a wonderful doggo called Loki. He's a very cute young man, but he's also very loud. And, like, he thinks he's a guard dog, but he's scared of everything. But he's cute, so we allow it. Anyway, something that I was going on about, was it in yesterday? No, video, day before. Something I kept going on about was the sort of weirdness of what we try and do. I feel like it's something that we don't actually talk about that much. But the fact that we often end up with two fullbacks on the side of the pitch, the same side of the pitch. And I was just trying to think of other teams that do that, and there's not many. You know, Palace in their back three have one fullback each side. Most teams in a back four play a fullback on the left, a fullback on the right. But what we often see from United is two fullbacks on the same side. And it just, like, it really jumped out at me the other day. I think we've always been aware of it. We've always known this is the case. But the other day, to me, it just really, like, stood out like a sore thumb that we do play two fullbacks this close to each other. And just other teams don't do that. It's just something that keeps jumping out at me as, like, a weird thing that we're doing currently. And particularly, you know, we're all going to say Ahmad wingback today. Of course we are. Of course we are. There's no argument there. We want to see Ahmad wingback because we're fed up of seeing 34 defenders. So we're going to want Ahmad in the wingback position. Surely, just for the sake of, like, just basic balance, just making sense, is it time to try something different in the back three? Where, if we want a fullback in the back three, which I'm fine with, can we shift him to the other side? You said we don't have the option. We absolutely do. We absolutely do. Watch this. Bosh. Now there's one fullback on each side. There's a fullback over here, and there's a fullback over here, which makes it much easier for us to go to the 4-4-2, which Amorim does do, by the way. This isn't me asking Amorim to do something new. I'm asking him to do something more consistently, but we often see him shift to a back four out of possession. Do it more, please. But this is something that he does. This isn't a new idea. So we can do this, and it feels natural to shift to a back four in this way. Whereas when we play the two fullbacks on the same side, with Shaw here, and we now try and shift to a back four, we end up with we end up in a back four, 4-4-2 off the ball. But we've got a centre-back at fullback, and then a fullback at centre-back. Like, is there not an argument that just for the sake of being logical, just making sense, can the fullback in the back three not be on the other side? Does this just not make more sense for us? Is it not just a little bit easier? I think Mazraoui is excellent in build-up for United. I think he's a very good first-phase player. Does this not just make sense as a way of trying something a little bit different? And we're not ripping up Amorim's blueprint here. We're just shifting it a little bit to make his system, which he wants to play, which he likes, make more sense. Like, I'm trying to do him a favour here. I'm not asking him to completely rip things up and start again. I'm trying to lean into his ideas, which is probably against my instinct, but I'm trying to help him. If you're going to play the 3-4-3 and be so stubborn on the shape, at least make it make sense and put the fullback on that side of the pitch, please. Especially when he has said that he wants to sometimes play in the back four. Play it this way. Please. Please. I don't mind if it's Dorgu or Dalot. I don't mind if it's Mazraoui or Dalot over here. That doesn't fuss me too much. You could even play Mazraoui wing back. But surely, like, just this balance across the defensive line with Dorgu here makes more sense when we're trying to be a team that shifts between two shapes. Surely that makes sense. Surely that makes more sense. I don't know. Steve Brooks is in the chat. Steve, good morning to you, my friend. I hope you are well. I hope you're good. 5 gifted memberships. 5 gifted memberships from Steve. Thank you very much. 5 of you that were not members before are now members because Steve is an absolute legend and an incredibly generous legend at that. Steve, thank you very much. I hope you are well, my friend. How are you feeling about this football club? How are you feeling about the game against Everton, about this game? What are we thinking? Just tuned in and the first thing I hear from AJ is Bosh. That's what we do. That's what we do. AJ is not holding back on Amorim today. It's just, if he wants, someone's just said the term there from Keane, beautiful. The back four is 100% situational from the sounds of it, and it absolutely is. Amorim doesn't want to play a 4-4-2 overall, but we know that there are moments defensively where he likes to. I think Everton, no, not Everton. Brighton was a great example of that. When we pressed, we tried to press in a bit more of a 4-4-2. We've seen United press in a 4-4-2 diamond at times as well. Surely this is just an easier way of doing it. Surely it's just simpler. I'm not trying to change Amorim's idea. I'm just trying to make a bit more sense. Does anyone hate this back three? Does anyone disagree with this idea? It could be someone else at wing back if you want. Of course it can. Sure. Maybe, I forgot to say it, you could even go Shaw here. But I just can't help but feel that this is something that we could do for the sake of trying something a little bit different without asking for massive change. That's not what I meant to do. Thoughts. We have to play better than we did against Everton. We looked lethargic. Yeah, and I think we have to point that out as well. I was critical of Amorim Tuesday morning. I stand by every bit of criticism I made. I've been quite critical of him today, and I stand by that criticism. But the players were terrible. Terrible Monday night. There's a psychological issue at this football club. I don't know what it is, right? Because it's not this, this idea of the same players under every manager, because it's such a different squad to what we've had in the past. I don't know if it's just the focus on Manchester United, the pressure around Manchester United, the fact that anything happens, the media's on it, the fact that we are just the biggest team in England. We still are. We're far from the best, but we're the biggest. I don't know what it is, but there is this just feeling about United that we can make some world-class footballers. World-class footballers we had on the pitch the other night. And we make them look like Sunday League players at best. I don't know why as a football club. I'm not talking about Amorim here. I'm talking about United as a football club. Why do we have that ability to take some seriously phenomenal players and just make them look useless? Like Bruno Fernandes just didn't really do anything. And he's one of the best players in the Premier League. Like Casemiro didn't do an awful lot. Brian Mbeumo wasn't that effective. Brian Mbeumo, he's such a good player. And we couldn't even make him look effective. It was one of those nights, and this is why I kept saying it in the video the other day. It wasn't just Amorim. He got it wrong. But so did pretty much all of the players. It was just a bad night from absolutely everybody. Everybody involved. It was just an absolute shocker. Just the whole thing just didn't work. The whole thing was just outright bad. So that's why I struggled to find positives, because I just didn't see anything that I liked at all. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. There's a comment from Steve. I think Yoro was sloppy last week and may get dropped for a week, plus Shaw is left-footed. I agree with Yoro being sloppy. He's had a few poor weeks, I would say. He's not had an amazing start to the season, I don't think, Yoro. We've got to remember very young. There was that interview with Varane last year who was like, we shouldn't be expecting 20-year-old centre-backs to be starting for big clubs. Whereas United just sort of forced to because of the squad. I think we have to be careful with how we criticise Yoro, but he's been poor, and we have to acknowledge when he's poor. We love him, right? But he's been bad recently. He's been a problem for United, to be honest. A bit of a defensive weakness. I don't know what the solutions are if we don't have Maguire, if we don't have Lisandro Martinez. I don't know what solutions we've got. Now, we could go Shaw into the back three. The thing that worries me, if we were to go like this, is Yoro's not amazing in the air, but he is at least tall. And I just look at the matchups of the two back threes without even thinking about the Palace, other players. Just immediately set pieces, I look like there's a mismatch there. Palace are another team who get a lot of their shots from set pieces. I think they've had the second most shots from set pieces in the league this season, heading into last weekend. So that would worry me a little bit. If we don't have Maguire, I would just want someone tall-ish with De Ligt. So I think as much as like Yoro feels like he needs to be dropped, I also look at like sort of the agility and the flair of some of the Palace players. I think I would still have Yoro in my team. And on the Shaw front, you guys know me. I like a left footer in the team if I can, particularly in a back three. I love one of my centre backs to be left footed. But I just think I think Amorim can't have it both ways, basically. I don't think he can have his shift to a situational back four balanced and play Luke Shaw left centre back. I don't think he can have both. Not if we also want Ahmad at wing back. I don't think we can have all three things. And I think the thing that I would prioritise is Ahmad playing wing back and us able to shift to a back four over the left footer. Sort of like the left footer for me is probably the lowest down the pecking order. It's not ideal, but out of like the three problems, that's where he falls for me, I think is what I would say. I think we're going to struggle to get all three things that we want. So we probably have to settle for two, and they're sort of the two that I would go for. Bruno switched off while pressing the guy who scored. I hate it when he does it, and it happens very often. We have a captain who needs captaining. I don't know if it's switch off in the sense of like losing focus in a football match. I don't know if it's switching off in like not being focused. I don't think it's that. I think it's he's not a defensive player. Like Bruno Fernandes, I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's played football for however many years. Well over 20 years he's played football from a young age. And I doubt he's a player who has ever been asked to sort of like pick up players on the edge of his own box. So I don't know if it's switching off in terms of not focusing. I think he's not a defensive player. It's not his instinct to like be scanning his shoulder on the edge of his box. I just don't think he is that. So I agree that he makes it too easy. Bruno does make it too easy. But I think it's sort of, what do you expect when you put him there? It's like putting Kevin De Bruyne, in a double pivot, borderline a 6, and like complaining when he switches off on the edge of his box. Of course he's going to. He's Kevin De Bruyne. He's an attacker. He's not a defensive midfielder. So it's Bruno's fault because he makes the mistakes. But I don't know if it's his, like, should we really be asking for more? Imagine Mesut Ozil, right, playing in a double pivot and complaining when he switches off defensively. Of course he's going to switch off. He's an attacker. So is Bruno's fault, but is it really? Or is it the fault of the manager who keeps putting him there because he wants him there? Can you really blame Bruno? He's playing so far out of position. So far out of position. So it is his fault, but is it really his fault? If you see what I'm saying. Am I making any sense? I don't know. My point is, you can't expect someone who normally plays here to be amazing here. Like, good luck finding that footballer. Right? We got another super chat, this time from Mirror. Thank you very much. Even after playing the back three after Everton went to 10 men, Everton moved the ball so easily, it was frustrating to watch. First of all, thank you very much for the super chat. Someone else pointed out also that, De Ligt didn't have a great game. And I'm not going to sit and criticise De Ligt. I think he's had a very good start to the season. But that didn't help us. De Ligt didn't win the battle against Barry. Barry dominated him, to be honest. Every ball that came up, Everton were able to get on. De Ligt had a bad night, and that's what I'm talking about. Everyone had a bad night. As much as Amorim's system was flawed, he wasn't helped by a lot of players not performing. De Ligt was one of them. And like you said, yeah, the idea of playing with so many defensive players when we were against 10 men, it just felt unnecessary. It did. I mean, it doesn't need a defensive player to continue harassing an attacker who is shaping to take a shot. That's what I mean by switching off. Yeah, I get your point. I do get your point. I think Bruno should do better. I would still expect Bruno to be better just because I think he's that sort of footballer. He's tenacious. I expect him to switch on and fight people. I just think if you take an attacker and put him just in front of his centre-backs over a 38-game Premier League season, he's going to make some defensive mistakes. Of course he is. The same way Mesut Ozil would, or Kevin De Bruyne would, or Cole Palmer, who's viewed as a 10. Defending on the edge of his box, he would have moments where he's not quite there. I think we're asking for it over the season. What you've got to hope is that the positives from Bruno outweigh the negatives when playing him in this position. And maybe that's something that we need to address at some point. Scholes has said he didn't like track and runners. Can't blame Scholes or Bruno too much when they're both attacking-minded players. Exactly. Like, he should be doing more, but like I said, he wants to play here, not here. He's not coached to play here. He's not got a... He didn't become a professional footballer playing here, is what I'm trying to say. What strength do you think Amorim sees in this system? Because usually a back five gives you some defensive stability, but we are conceding more than we ever have, and we have sacrificed attacking options. I think the reason that Amorim tends to go to the back five is, I think, for what he wants to do in build up on goal kicks, which is why perhaps we've really seen that lost a little bit recently because we haven't been playing out. I think he likes the idea of your wing backs starting high and then dropping in the first phase, because I think that's why he pushes the centre back into midfield as well, right? Because if the centre back pushes into midfield, it means these guys drop deeper, which also means these guys drop deeper. And I think his idea is if these guys start high and then drop deep, they're going to drag someone out of this position here. And I think what he wants to do on his goal kicks then is be able to quickly access that zone. I think that's the main reason he goes for the back three, because I don't think you'd achieve that in the same way in a 4-2-3-1, because these would be fullbacks naturally. So it'd be different opposition players attaching to them. So I think that's why he goes for the 3-4-3. In most other phases, you know, like for example, when we attack, the 3-4-3 isn't important. I don't think. The profiles of player we have is, but I don't think the 3-4-3 is that important when we attack. It's more about how we want to attack. That's the bigger concern. I guess the other reason is he likes to drop into his back five as well. So basically, I would say when the ball is here, that's when he wants his 3-4-3. That's when he wants to see it. That's when he wants on the ball, the wing backs coming deep to open up that higher space. And when we're defending, he wants lots of defenders in the box and that flat line. Apart from that, I actually don't think he is so fixed to it. But I think because of his idea in this part of the pitch, he feels the need to use it. Like up here, the way that we attack, we could achieve from a back four. We know that we could because Arsenal do it, for example, the shape-wise. So I think it is all to do with this part of the pitch. The annoying thing is, we're just terrible here. Like, we're not good on the ball here or defensively. Which is where, again, it feels like it doesn't make sense, and maybe it's time for a change in the idea, but I don't think it's going to happen, I don't think. Anyway, let's keep working our way through this team. Let's keep working our way through. Now, I'm going to go with the back three that I like, to be honest, because the conversation's a bit of an unbalanced one today. We're talking about it in a different way to what we normally would. So I'm going to go with that back three. Now, despite everything that we have just said, Bruno is going to play in midfield this week because he's still, to this day, in our top two most important players. And I don't think he'll be moved into the front line because Amorim doesn't trust his other midfielders, right? So it'll be Casemiro. He doesn't trust Ugarte, and Kobe the other night didn't do enough when he came on. Again, we've got to be fair to him and say he's rusty. He's not playing a lot of football. He's not sort of in the flow right now. So it's fair for him to be poor, but he was poor. That was his opportunity to make a claim to be a starter, and he didn't do that. So I don't think he will play. So I think it'll be these two. Which gives us that question on the front three. That's the question. That's the question. This only works if the opponents are coming out to press 100%, which is why when you notice teams sitting back, we then struggle because then we lose what we want to achieve. It adds up. AJ Xerxes was better on the ball compared to Højlund. I think he is not good enough. Huge drop-off from Šeško. He killed 3 to 4 attacks with his missed passes and touches. I thought Xerxes was genuinely horrendous the other night. Like, so bad. He's still clever. His sort of timing of how he drops into midfield, his movement to get into those areas and overload is still fantastic. But again, because of rustiness, because of not playing a lot of football, not being sharp, not being confident, not in flow state, the details on the passing were so bad. So bad. Like, again, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't played a lot of football and it's difficult to come into the intensity of the Premier League. But he was really poor. He was really poor. Really poor. And sadly, that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he's dropped, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he's dropped. How badly did we miss Cunha against Everton? Massively. He's a personality when I didn't feel that anyone else really was the other night. So let's look at some of these front threes. Who have we got that could play? We've got Cunha, who I think will be back in contention for selection this weekend, and I think he'll play somewhere. Will it be the 9, the left 10? I'm not sure. We can figure that out. And Bruno will play. Right 10 or left 10? We'll see. I've got an opinion on it. Mount. I found it weird that Mount didn't start the other night. I think we all expected that he would. With Cunha and Šeško both out, and Mount having such a good start at the start of the season, I think we all thought that Mount would come into the team. And I was a little bit surprised that he didn't. I'd be interested to know why. Why didn't Mount play? Now, I don't think he was amazing when he came on, by the way, either. Another one who hasn't played loads of football, I guess. But I just thought it was weird. I thought it was weird that we didn't turn to Mount in that situation. But this weekend, again, he's an option. And then we got Xerxes as well. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if we're playing Bruno and Casemiro in midfield as a double pivot, if we're doing that, if we're going with this back three and we're going with these wing backs, then for me, it's this front three. That's what I think. That's what I think it'll be. And the order of the front three is something that we've got to talk about. Now, I have an opinion on this, which I'm happy to express shortly, but I want to hear from you guys first. Now, just for a bit of a spoiler, my opinion is one that I've given before. It's not a new idea. It's not a new idea. But what would you do with the front three? How would you line them up? Because at the moment, I kind of want to make a change. To our team. Right. We're taking a step back here. This is me. Again, you can tell in these streams that I think in the moment, right? Rather than loads of prep work before, which I think is a fun way of doing this. You sort of see my brain working a little bit or not working a lot of the time as well. If we're trying to make this change to not have two fullbacks on the same side, we have to make that switch in the back three. So the fullback of the back three, rather than being Shaw on the left, has to be Mazraoui or Dalot on the right, which means De Ligt and Yoro then play alongside him if we want to keep two proper centre-backs on the pitch. We have lost a left footer. As Steve pointed out earlier. Is this the time for Shaw to come in on the left? Is this the time? Because then we get left footer. Then we get a left footer down this side. And some crossing ability as well. Not just a left footer, someone that can actually cross. What do we think? Or can he just not do it? So David's idea is Casemiro and Ugarte as a double pivot in order to bump Bruno further forward. Now, my issue with that is Ugarte. I'm just not a big fan of him as a player. The problem is I don't think you can put Kobe and Casemiro together because I just don't think there's enough there to do it. I don't think there's, enough between them for that to work physically, athletically. But I would love Bruno further forward. So it's a tricky one for me. I would love to find a way to get Bruno higher, but I don't think he'll put Kobe and Casemiro together, and I don't like watching Ugarte. But he could do it away from home. But I don't think he will. And that's where we sort of get these questions between, are we trying to build Amorim's team or what we would do? We try and strike a balance, I think, but not sure. If we don't think this will be an end-to-end transition game, then yes, Shaw on the left. But if he wasn't used there versus Everton, I just can't see it here versus Palace. Yeah, and that's what frustrates me so much. It's where it's confusing. Because the problem is, because of how United play, Steve, it's always going to be end-to-end. Like, we don't see United go and have 70% possession against someone. It's always close to around 50-50. So if we don't think Shaw can do it, right? If we don't think Shaw can play left wing back, then it has to be Dorgu for me, because we need a left footer over here. But we need more here. So then we sort of lean back to that Mbeumo left idea. The question is, do you want to get Mbeumo away from Ahmad? I'm not sure. Now, I am still of the opinion I think these two could be great together. I think these two could be absolutely phenomenal. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Are you sure, AJ? Cobby with Casemiro and Bruno left 10 dropping deeper. I don't think Amorim would put Cobby and Casemiro together. Now, I wouldn't actually be that against it. I think it's doable for us if we play slower, which is one of the questions, right? Will we play slower? Probably not. I just don't think you trust their athleticism together as a two. Maybe I'm off with that. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think he would like the two of them together in terms of the energy and things like that, if we're trying to think like Amorim a little bit. I think Amorim should get some experienced assistant coaches. I think it'd probably be a good idea, to be honest. I always think coaches should try and work with different coaches to what they've worked with in the past as well. I think it's good to get different opinions, different voices in and around you as well, rather than people all with the same idea. To sort of challenge ideas more, which I think brings more solutions out. Is Mainu at 10 a non-starter? See, that's an interesting one, because that's a moment where we could get an extra midfielder in. We saw him there last season. The problem is just, again, there, like, it's missing something. It's no wing play at all. And we desperately need wing play. We need it so badly. It's ridiculous. I'm stuck. We can't go Dallo left wing back with this lot, can we? Because I don't know if you guys saw the video the other day. We did have a solution where we said about like Dallo potentially playing wing back. I think Steve suggested this in previous streams before. Dallo going in from wing back to bump Bruno one, and then Mbeumo could go wide. The idea was that then, if I can find my players, here they are, that you could end up with a really like attacking, aggressive front five. There's no fullbacks there. There's no defensive midfielders there. It's fully attacking. You got wingers out wide, 1-versus-1 quality, crossing ability from both sides, flexible players from both sides. I like that a lot. But I think if you were to do that, then the lack of left footer in the back line becomes a problem. And then the solution is Luke Shaw. Can we play Luke Shaw and Mazraoui in the same back three? I don't know. I don't think Amorim would do it away from home, because I think he'd want the extra height. And again, this is where it's so difficult to do, because we want to try and bring new ideas, which I think are desperately needed. But we always want to try and keep Amorim's ideas in mind. And the problem is I just disagree with a lot of Amorim's ideas. And I think a lot of them aren't working. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. Dallo wing back, but tucking in with Casemiro for a pivot. Then Bruno can join forward with Mbeumo holding width. Yeah, that's what I was then talking about. I definitely think it's something we could do. But I think we would then want a left-footed, left-sided defender. I'm not sure how that works. Only problem is the counter-attack against us. I agree, but also this is something that teams do. You know, Arsenal, for example, regularly invert a fullback. When Arsenal build on the ball, let's just bring Yoro back in to make this make sense with Arsenal, right? And let's remember, Arsenal are, of course, just clear of us. clear. They're so much better than us. But what Arsenal will often do is the right back, not always, more so last season than the season before, would tuck into the back three, and then the fullback would go inside. This is something that teams will do to improve their play on the ball, to improve their rest defense, but also it works getting back. I think it's doable. I think Dallo is someone that can do it as well in terms of his physicality, his athleticism, etc. I think it's doable. How complicated does this 3-4-3 need to be? That's the question. Is the Mbeumo-Ahmad partnership really that good, or do we just love both players? I think it's got potential to be that good. I don't think it's that good currently. I think there's so much potential between these two. I think they can become unstoppable. We've said it before. Two wingers on one side is almost unstoppable for a defender. How on earth do you defend against that? The problem we've got at the moment is that not clicking again right now. It seems to have almost taken a step backwards, which happens. They both want to come inside, don't they? And that's when they get in each other's way. We saw that the other night. They were standing on top of each other a lot, which is why I don't mind breaking them up and moving them a little bit further apart. I don't mind that at all. It's a doable solution for me. I honestly think I would be leaning towards something like this, because I think we can shift to a back four defensively. I think that's quite easy for us to do. We're now 4-4-2, which we want to see from us sometimes, but we can still jump to that man-to-man pressure in the front three if we want to. We can go man-to-man across this line here. That's something that we can do. And we're doing that whilst keeping centre-backs at centre-back and full-backs at full-back, which I like. I think in the first phase, Amorim won't do this, but it would be quite easy to get Casemiro and Bruno in midfield rather than De Ligt. That's something that we could do with this 11. Wingers on both sides, which I think is always important. A left footer down here who can go down the outside. A right footer over here who can go down the outside, but also Ahmad who can go both ways as well. Yeah, I'm not in love with it. I think Dorgu's role ends up a little bit confused in possession. Where does he go? Does he come inside a bit more? And that's something you could do. Something that's quite big in football at the moment is late arriving fullbacks. Fullbacks that sort of like hang back a little bit and then go diagonally into the space. And they sort of make that out to in run there. Or, imagine this is a right back and they sort of come in like that. You could almost use Dorgu a little bit like that. If Mbeumo was to sort of like get spinning in this zone here, Dorgu's better. His instinct is to carry inside rather than outside. So I don't know if something like that would work maybe. With the idea of like Bruno sort of getting involved in that region as well. Maybe something like that works. We need to see more of Dorgu going forward. We need to see more from him. Definitely. If we press too high, one bad pass will turn into a counter-attack and we lose. Yeah, I guess that's the argument for any time that you look to press though, right? I think there is that argument. I understand we're looking for solutions, but we have some few players in their best or even natural positions or role. It's mental. The problem is I feel like we have that anyway. Which is... I get your point, I do. Although, this is Dorgu's best position in the system. It is Yoro's, in my opinion. I prefer Yoro on the left. It's De Ligt's, it's Mazraoui's, it's Ahmad's, it's Casemiro's. It's not Bruno's, it's not Mount, it's not Mbeumo, it's not Cunha's. I guess that's a frustrating thing, right? Almost your four best attackers aren't in there most comfortable. But Bruno plays there regardless. Shifting Mbeumo left isn't ideal. I do agree. I don't want to see him there long term. If you tell me in 18 months that Mbeumo is playing down the left, I wouldn't be happy. I think we should try and get our best players in their best positions, and Mbeumo's is on the right. But I just think where we're limited at the moment, and we've got to find a solution to the problems that we're currently facing. Obviously this isn't a new idea. We saw Amorim do it against Spurs, which sort of sparked the thought in the first place. I'm not sure. I want to hear from you guys. I need some help. It's not magic, and Mbeumo and Ahmad aren't creating clever interplays and switches and stuff. They create confusion in the defence because they both terrify defenders and one can't mark two of them. I think that's actually a really nice way of putting it. I think Mbeumo and Ahmad works to an extent because they're both individually brilliant, and it's difficult to deal with two brilliant individuals. Not necessarily because they're clicking. I think that's a lovely way of putting it. I think their pure danger sort of is what makes it look exciting, rather than, like you said, the fact that they're clicking, they're interchanging, they're working together, their relationship developing. I think that's really, a great comment. We are constantly putting square pegs in round holes. It's been a feature of the Amorim era because we don't feel suited to a 3-4-3, because I couldn't tell you at this club who I think is a wing-back. Like, especially an attacking one. That's the problem. I think it's the least bad option. Yeah, and that almost feels like the solution we're looking for. Which isn't great. Which isn't great. I do like this idea. I can't get I personally can't think of an idea that I like more if we've got to play the 3-4-3 this weekend with the players we've got available. Šeško back, it changes the conversation. Of course it does. Lisandro Martinez available changes the conversation drastically. But with sort of the players that we've got available, I do lean towards this. I don't see us winning. I do. I think we've got a good chance to win, to be honest, this weekend. I do. I think Crystal Palace, in theory, should be tired compared to us. They played last night. And the game is Sunday lunchtime, so they should be much more tired than us. We've had more preparation time, more recovery time. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a tight game. I think we'll see two teams that aren't afraid of going quite direct, which always makes it a competitive game. I think always it makes it quite an even game, quite a scrappy game. And I think we've got the better players. If you look at the Ahmad, for example, at wing-back is a great attacking threat that we've got. Bruno in midfield is a great attacking threat, and that's without talking about the front three. So I think we've got every chance of winning. I think we've got a great chance to win this weekend. I'd like to see a performance with it if we can. I'd like to see a performance. I do think it'll be this 11, but I think he'll flip the 10s. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if he'll drop Shaw. The dropping of Shaw feels more like something I'm trying rather than what I think Amorim will do. That's sort of me looking for a solution away from Amorim a little bit while sticking with his back three. Just trying to get that fullback switch to the other side. My issue with this 11 is just, I feel like we lack proper outside threat down here. That's my concern if you flip the 10s. I don't like that so much. But hopefully, if it was to be this way, hopefully it would at least be versatile and quite flexible and quite free-flowing, where they can move into different positions, they can rotate and roam. That's what I would hope for, at least. If we can keep the intensity high, it'll be another opportunity. Yeah, exactly. I don't go into this game terrified of Crystal Palace. Their league position is good, but I don't look at them and think, oh my God, they're amazing. They're going to, play us off the park. I don't look at it like that. I think this is a very beatable team. Very, very beatable. We've got the better players. We've had more recovery, so therefore we should have the upper hand. It therefore will come down to sort of tactical decisions from the manager and then how the players perform on the day, which is always quite unpredictable. But this is a game that we can win. 100%. 100%. Mira with another super chat. Thank you very much. We need more Premier League experienced players in the squad to protect the potential of the likes of Dorgu, Yoro, Šeško. They are getting no positive experiences to improve. I think especially Dorgu, we really labelled him as a lovely backup at wing-back. And he's been expected to be this starter, which he's not ready for. It's a lot of pressure on Šeško, of course. I still think he can do it. I think he can lead the line for United, but it is a lot of pressure. And Yoro is another one that I think we need to protect more. Absolutely. But yeah, I think you're spot on. Some of our starters feel like they should be squad players, which is where there is still a skill problem in our squad. There is a skill gap. But thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much. Just a crazy idea, since we would need to do something crazy anyway for a 3-4-3. Have Bruno left wing back transitioning into the left 10 and our left 10 is a left winger, a left midfielder, and have a central midfielder more defensive. Keen. I like the crazy idea. I'm confident we will never, ever, ever see it. I'm confident of that. But I like a rogue shout. I like a different idea. And it's actually interesting, right? Because Bruno, I believe, has played wide left before. I quite like it as a shout, right? Let's imagine it probably requires Mbumo left. Let's just go Ugarte. You're saying like Bruno goes in there and Mbumo comes out. Like, it's actually not as outrageous as it sounds, even though it will never happen. But it's not as outrageous as it sounds. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Because off the ball, there's a world where that would just leave him left to mid in a 4-4-2, which, like, it's doable. Bruno can absolutely do that. So it's a fun idea. I like that. I do like that a lot. Amorim won't take risks to get more attacks. He wants more defense. Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. I think... Oh my god, I took Bruno out. I think whilst we've got to keep the Amorim cap on, this is the idea I'd like to see. I don't think we will. I wouldn't go out and put money on this starting 11. Certainly not in these positions. But it's what I would like to try and see. I'd like us to give it a go. I think, regardless, we're going to struggle to settle on an 11 because I think we're all frustrated by all the players that we've got and the decisions we're making and stuff. So I think we're going to struggle to really agree on that. Maybe we can at least agree on a scoreline prediction. And I believe, right, I'm now allowed to predict. Previously, I wasn't allowed to predict games because I stopped for 5 weeks and we went unbeaten. You know, we won 3 in a row when I stopped predicting results. So I sort of got banned from further predictions. But that's gone now because Everton beat us. So I think I'm back to being allowed to predict games again. So I personally am going to go for a I want to say 1-0 or 2-1. I don't know which one I want to say. In one world, I don't think United keep a clean sheet, so 1-0 feels questionable. But I don't know if we score 2 against a Palace team that have only conceded 9 all season. That's where I'm a little bit stuck. 2-1 United is what I'm going to go for. That's what I'm going to go for. I want to hear your guys' predictions in the chat. I want to hear your scoreline, your theme of play, how you think the game's going to go, and also your goal scorers. And if you are a member, you can use your emojis to predict your goal scorers in the chat. For example, I see a 3-0 win with goals from Cunha again, and De Ligt. I would absolutely love that. I'm going for either a 2-2 or a 3-1. I'll take that all day, Simon. All day, a 3-1 would be lovely. Steve says 1-0 with a Bruno penalty in the 97th minute. Yes, please. Since we lost 1-0, we will win either 3-2 or 3-1. Neon, who are your goal scorers? I'd love to hear it. I see a 3-0 United win. Cunha and Ahmad. I think Cunha being back boosts us a lot if he is back. That will be a massive boost for us. 3-2 United win. 1-0 win. 2-1 dub, says Callum with the Mbumo brace. 2-0 to Palace, says Patrick, with Mateta and Lacroix getting the goals. Eesh. Hopefully not. 2-2. It's another Forest or Spurs game. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the game sort of goes in that way. Max has gone 3-2 to United with goals from Cunha, Mbumo and Bruno. Probably our 3 best attackers. I would absolutely take that. Mbumo, right wing back, please. See, this is another one of those things where people will say that's not allowed because you don't sign a goal scorer and play in wing back. But I think in an ideal world, our wing backs end up here, where suddenly it feels more acceptable. So it's a conversation that people won't want to have, but one that I think we could in a different circumstance. There's too much pace in Palace to expect a clean sheet. 3-1 win, Mbumo double and a Bruno penalty. Yeah, and I'll be honest, recently I think I've been a bit more okay with just getting a result more than the performance. I want a performance this week. I think they've got to respond. I was so disappointed and embarrassed by my football club on Monday that I want a performance. Result is, yeah, give us the result. But I want to see something which actually makes me think we can go somewhere. a 1-0 off a set piece, I'll take that result if the football's good. But if it's dry football, poor football again, the recent football, and we win off a set piece, I'd be like, okay, cool, it's a win, but we're not going anywhere. I want to see a team going somewhere, a team that can get on the ball, a team that can be flexible, can attack teams in a different way. That's what we need to see. That's what we need to see. I don't know if we will or not. History would suggest perhaps not, but we can dream. We can dream, right? We can have hopes and dreams that United are going to play well this weekend and get the result. That would be lovely. Give me a Brighton-esque sort of day where we're... Oh, do apologise. Tired, apparently. Didn't think I was. I want to see United on the front foot. I want to see United pressing. I want to see United on the ball, quick, fast, attacking, lots of ideas, different ways of attacking. That's what I want to see from United this weekend. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping for. I think that is everything that I want to discuss for today. I believe we've covered everything. It's been quite a downbeat stream, I guess, and I think I've led that, for which I apologise. But it's the club we've got, right? We can't pretend it's all amazing. We can't pretend that Amorim and the players are doing some incredible job, because they're not. So it's the tone we sort of have to take. We've tried to find solutions, and I think we've got some that we like, some that we don't so much, which is always going to happen. I think that's absolutely fine. So that's job done for today. So we are going to wrap the stream up there. So thank you guys very, very much for the support as always. Thank you to everyone who's been very busy in the chat. It's been really, really busy today. Even before I started, you guys were already having good conversations in the chat. So shout out you guys as always for carrying this stream on your back. Thank you to everyone who has left a like on the stream, who has subscribed. You guys are legends and make my day. Thank you if you joined the Discord server, which is linked in the description. I nearly said the chat. Linked in the description. Lewis, trust me to join right at the end. Sorry, mate. This stream will be available for you to watch back if you want to. If not, I should be live on Tuesday at 11 a.m. So you might be able to catch the next one. But yeah, that is everything for today's stream. So thank you guys very much for watching as always. Thank you very much for your support. And I shall see you guys, hopefully very soon, talking about